to whoever's watching this. This is a video about how to make sourdough. I decided to make it to help my friend John with his bread making. And so anyone who watches it, I hope that it's helpful and that you learn something and that your bread comes out really awesome. But even if it's not what you want, it's still gonna be yummy. Enjoy. So I just wanted to talk briefly about flour and like measuring stuff. So if anybody, doesn't know, it's really important to measure by weight when you're making bread. I just wouldn't even bother trying to use cups or whatever. So I highly recommend using a kitchen scale to measure out all your ingredients. And then that's kind of all I have to say about that. And then for flour, it's also really important to make sure that you're using the right kind of flour for what you want to make. So for this kind of artisan sourdough, you really need a high protein bread flour. And protein, when you're talking about flour, just means how much gluten can it make, basically. When you're making bread like this, you need a lot of gluten. So you definitely need a flour that says bread flour on it. If you like to look at the numbers, I'm using King Arthur bread flour, and that's 12.7%, which is pretty good. Just for comparison, if you were making like cake and you had cake flour, that would be more like 7 or 8%. Because in cake, you want it to be like tender and not chewy. So you don't want gluten when you're making cake. So, and all-purpose is kind of in the middle, kind of varies. I would, off the top of my head, say it's probably like 10 or 11, depending on the brand and the grain and stuff. So anyway, for this, you really need bread flour. And then if you're incorporating a whole grain flour, that is going to interfere slightly with the gluten forming ability of your dough. So just do that with care. If you mill yourself, you want it to be as fine as possible. You can sift out the bran if you want. I do not, because that's like, all the nutrition and the germ. And then it's not really whole grain flour anymore if you sifted out some parts of it. So anyway, I would recommend sticking with no more than 20% of the total flour weight being whole grain, if that's what you want to do. And then, just make sure the rest is really strong protein bread flour. So I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the kind of equipment that it's helpful to have if you want to make a nice artisan sourdough. So in no particular order, here we go. First up is the lom. This is what you use to score the bread. It's like a legit razor blade, So this is like what a traditional one looks like. Some company made these really cool new ones recently. My friend just gave me this as a Christmas gift, so this will be the first time I'm using it. So we'll see, it should be fun. So that's the lom. When I didn't have a lom available, I've tried scoring bread with just like a knife, but nothing is quite as sharp as the razor blade. If you really don't have one, I would recommend maybe like a serrated bread knife. I've had better luck with that than trying to use a straight knife. So that's the lom. Next is scrapers. I would recommend always having a bench scraper and a soft scraper on hand. The bench scraper is obviously good to have. You can scrape flour off the table and you can cut bread with it. And it can help with shaping. The soft scraper is also essential. You need it for the bowl. You can also cut the bread or scrape the table with it. Both tools that you need. For proofing, it's nice to have baskets. If you don't have a basket, you can use like a bowl, but I would definitely put the cloth in it and see how that goes for you. But having like a breathable side, I think, is a really important part of the final proof. So if you can, I would recommend getting baskets. for baking, a lot of people use like traditional Dutch ovens, but I highly recommend getting this set from Lodge. So it's supposed to be like this campfire skillet, like this, but the lid is perfect for dumping the bread out. I think the problem with like a regular Dutch oven is like has its high sides and it's kind of hard to put the bread in gently without deflating the loaf. So this flat surface is ideal for dumping the bread out of the basket and being able to score. And then the top is tall enough that you then place it over the bread and there's enough room for the loaf. So that's what I recommend to bake in, but if you don't have that, or if you already have a Dutch oven, you can use that. If you have like a pizza stone, you can use that. Anything that's going to be able to heat in the oven and retain that heat for when you are ready to start your bake is going to be instrumental in helping you achieve a bake that's as close as you can to a professional kitchen with a deck oven, which is what you bake this kind of bread in.